Hello, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Binge Bitches. This one we are discussing the Star Wars sequel trilogy. So we've already went into the past and now we're going into the future. So today I'm going to be bringing in my nice little panel of friends that we have come to accustomed to. So here we go. So we have Brian Hill in from 619 Bearcast, and he's also a local bartender here in San Diego. I also have Tom Welch. He's a writer. Go ahead, just look him up, but don't look too closely. And so, and then we also have Annie Setting. She is from the Never Growing Up, a Disney podcast for adults. And so she is joining us. And then we also have Lily Holiday, burlesque performer, performance artist, and super fan of everything nerdy. Okay, so she's actually my first experience going to Comic-Con was actually with Lily last year. So, and now I wish there was this year that I can go and enjoy this whole Star Wars, this stuff.
No.
So, yeah. So normally each week I ask you guys to kind of tell me like where was your memory like when you guys saw these movies, but these are so current. And so starting off with, Force Awakens that came out in 2015, and then the most recent that just came out in Christmas of 2019. So these are kind of fresh in people's minds. Maybe not so fresh for everybody here because I know that we didn't do a lot of rewatching, but I think we have a lot of strong opinions and strong feelings, which is, the reason why we're doing this. So I recently watched all 9 of these films, the Skywalker saga, and I wanted to talk about them to some friends. And so that's why I pulled this little panel of amazing people together, because I trust their insights and whatnot. So, I think let's start off with just a fun little do this each time we talk about another film. And so this is something that Tom actually came up with. And I'm totally stealing it and I'm reusing it for all of my other shows. And that is, okay, so we're going to talk about Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. It has been years since there was a Star Wars. So let's do a little bit of a moment here of, were you guys excited to see this? Or were you guys kind of like, huh? So, because it was J.J. Abrams.
So excited. I love J.J. Abrams. I was so excited to see this. I was the trailer itself I thought was magnificent, and I was just so thrilled. And I was very happy with it generally overall.
Nice. I actually, going back into when we talked about how the prequel trailers, how they kind of broke the internet for the very first time, this trailer did remarkably well. It was downloaded over 20 million times. 4 hours when it first came out. So people were hungry for some new Star Wars. Were they still hungry for Star Wars after they saw this? That's up to debate. And so
what did you think, first timer?
My feeling on it was a little bit everywhere. And I felt like some of the stuff repeated, but since I kind of watched them one after the next, I wasn't as emotionally like, oh no, they fucked with Star Wars. I was just kind of like, oh, a movie. But then I didn't like people, so it's just kind of, I just think that there was things that just, I don't like Finn. I'm sorry if people like him. There's no reason for him to be in this movie.
Wait, which one's Finn? Which one's Finn?
Exactly. It's a stormtrooper.
Oh, right.
The
the only stormtrooper in the history of the movies that got blood on him, apparently, because that's the only bloody stormtrooper I've ever seen.
Their trigger.
That is so people can cosplay and people know exactly who you're being when you're being a stormtrooper, and that is also to sell action figures. Come on, I've learned this also. Yeah, and that's actually
an action figure that we're gonna sell.
Yeah, it's kind of genius though, because you could just get a stormtrooper thing and just put a red handprint and then call it a day. And so
there you go.
I liked Finn though. I actually liked Finn. I thought, this time around, if you ask me who the different characters' names are, it is a little tougher for me to kind of keep up with it. Not because they're not memorable, but just because I don't have much of a memory. But I liked Finn. I just thought it was funny that he was the first ever stormtrooper to have blood on him and get dirty, and the beginning I was just like, oh, okay, all right, tell that story.
It's an interesting story, and so I there's other things I do like about it, and then there's other things I don't. So anyways, so let's go into our little game here. So I wanted to know if you guys could rename these movies, what would you guys rename them? So Episode 7,
The Nostalgia Awakens.
What is your first one, Lily?
The Nostalgia Awakens.
The Nostalgia Awakens. And so
That's good.
Clearly because people, they repeated. Like, is there a further explanation there that you would like to
it's just that they relied so heavily on nostalgia without telling an original story. And not really attaching you to the new characters. Like, he can't even fucking name who Finn is. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just because the characters don't leave you with an impression of their wants and their desires. And, you know, the actors, again, are trying their best, but you can't, you know.
Well, this one, George Lucas isn't completely responsible for, too. And so that's the big, like, rub. Is George Lucas responsible for this at all?
No.
That's what I thought. Like, so
the one thing he's responsible is getting the original cast to return, because he actually had lunch with Carrie Fisher and he had lunch with Mark Hamill, and Carrie was like, "Yeah, fuck it, sure." And Mark's like, "You don't put all your cards out on the table like that, Carrie." And she's like, "I am over 50. What the fuck else am I going to be cast in?" And that to me was like so heartbreaking to hear, like that she was so gung-ho about doing these projects and they shit on everyone's character.
Well,
and then she died.
That's so funny.
Mom.
The end.
Well, and the thing is, but they did bring your trio. You know what I mean? They did bring us back on Solo. They brought us back.
And you never see them together really, except for like 2 scenes.
That's a major thing too that I noticed, is that a lot of these people who are supposed to be such a big deal, you never see them together. So my title that I gave this, and it's such a terrible thing, and I don't know if it makes sense, I don't know if it's even funny, but was episode 7, "Look, Ma, no Han." And so like,
wah, wah.
It's a little terrible, it's a little bit heartless, but that's basically what happened. Okay, so like,
the
big spoiler here.
Using the Han and Leia theme to sell these fucking new movies and then doing that to their relationship. Listen.
Leia.
Bad.
So Tom, what would you rename this one?
Force Awakens. Okay, I would say Star Wars Episode 7. Apparently, Luke made everything worse.
Okay.
Luke bad? I kind of like it for a reason.
Either that or I guess that'd be my title.
It is kind of like he put himself into exile, but for what reason? Just because Yoda did it?
We thought he saved the universe, but apparently he made everything worse.
And then he just lived on an island where he exploited the culture that lived there. Apparently, you know,
a little bit. He's like their caretaker,
the wildlife.
Caretakers of the island. They're just they're here to do our bidding.
We thought he killed the Emperor and saved the universe. But
those things, they look like those characters from like the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. That's what those people that inhabit that island look like.
They look like the Doozers. They look like the Doozers from Fraggle Rock.
Yeah, they do.
It's kind of their job, really.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
And you have the same fucking job. I'm just like, the Jim Henson Company is gonna be pissed.
They just found them. They found them at the back of the warehouse, basically. So,
bring them on out.
Happy family.
Annie, what would you call this?
It's kind of similar. I was kind of like, "Hey, remember us?" And it's sad because, like, I actually really did enjoy seeing all the original characters. Just from a nostalgic person, like, nostalgia doesn't bother me too much, except when they like completely remake a movie, or they remake a movie and make it into a musical. That's like a whole other conversation. But that's it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. But I say that now because it's episode 7. Once we get to like episode 8 and 9, then I'm like, what happened to all of this? And that'll get into my other titles.
So that gets into what happened. So, and Brian, what do we call this on your end? What is episode 7? What's your retitle?
Mine was more of like a tagline, because I was like, "Hey kid, or hey Gen X, did you like Back to the Future 2? Well, this has got all the same things. It's got all the throwbacks you love. It's got lightsaber. If you liked one lightsaber, now you've got a 3-bladed one. If you liked a little Death Star, now you've got a ginormous one. It's like all your favorites reimagined and given to you 30 years later."
Sun Crusher too, and that just fucks with me deeply.
The which one?
For people that don't know or aren't into the extended universe, the Sun Crusher was the thing that basically explodes the sun in a particular solar system, destroying an entire solar system, which was way worse because it was smaller than a Death Star, so you could hide it amongst your fleet. That's like a bunch of like things that they do in the extended universe instead of, Death Star but bigger. I'm like,
well, that is something too, is that when they show it like on the little whatever you want to call it, the screen thingy, they're like, this is the Death Star. This is the like, and they like they even do that for you. You know what I mean?
Do you remember?
Yeah, they
Size
define
Queen.
her.
Yeah.
They completely define. It's amazing. So overall, this movie, it gives us the death of Han Solo. And so, which is tragic and sad. And the thing is, and it's basically because like, I'm not doing 2 movies, I'm doing 1, and you'll get an extra scene maybe. But it
Wise man.
Yeah.
And he already did the 3rd one. Like, they didn't have to do him like that. He could have been a background character.
That's the thing too, is that his character, it was just kind of like, he reverted back to old ways, and Leah's off here like owning the galaxy and doing the thing, and he's still a pirate, kind of like still running scams.
Saying that she is General Leia and not Princess Leia, it's just like, do you know she led Hoth? Do people not understand she was in charge of Hoth?
Well, doesn't Princess outrank General?
General, she's up here already, and she downgrades herself to General, something that Lando was handed in the 3rd movie. Like, what?
Well, maybe because there is no more royalty, though, because I think that's kind of the thing too. Is that
when your planet gets destroyed, are you still a princess? I'm just asking. I don't know.
What was my mom?
Well, she's a Disney princess, you guys. That's the thing that happened with this movie. She's officially a Disney princess.
So, I thought General sounded more important, though.
What happened?
I thought General sounded much more important than Princess. Like, sometimes when I hear Disney Princess, and I have a Disney podcast, and I hear Disney Princess, and it makes me cringe.
Why?
Because I just find it to be somewhat negative. I don't know. It's very like floaty and pretty, and I don't think that's what
women can be generals, you guys.
The thing is
generals, okay.
I think, but officially, if you look in canon,
Princess what? Princess
yeah.
Princess where?
But if you look in canon of princesses, your mom and dad have to die. Happened. Yeah. So she's a Disney princess. So it's official, guys. So going in, I'm going to just pop up a few of these like little fun facts I found about this film. So John Williams earned his 50th Oscar nom for the Force Awakens score. So, which is like huge. And so we're using words like quar and nom right now.
Phoned it in. He's like, yeah, dude, just change some notes. It's fine.
I think, yeah, a little bit. And so, but it's still, it's a John Williams score. And there's a big difference between that and when you watch like a Rogue One where you're like, it's almost there, man. It's almost there. It's what almost made that movie perfect later. Another fun fact I found is this is the only time Harrison Ford has received top billing in a Star Wars film. So not even for the first 3, he didn't receive top billing, 2nd and 3rd. And then he also makes him the first non-Jedi character to be credited first. So is that, I don't know, something
I mean, how
special?
they did his character and the star power that he brings to it and the level of nostalgia he brings to it, they might as well like run him his money, because that's the only reason that people were showing up. Like, it's not the only reason, but it's a huge reason, you know?
Well, a big like inside thing, and I've heard this like in a couple different podcasts and even one that's associated with like Star Wars, but then also being in like the entertainment field and where we book headliners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. There are some people that you can ask for like, I need a favor, and those people will go and they will do it. Harrison Ford doesn't understand working below ask. Like, he has a certain level that he requires for, and that's what it is. And he doesn't take any less. And it's almost like he doesn't hear people. It's this Hollywood baller, been in it for 50 years kind of a thing that he can do now. But
he doesn't want to work anymore. He barely wants to work.
If you don't give me what I want, I'll crash my plane on your front lawn.
I would just want to crash the freaking plane, like into like an overpass. It's whatever. Well, Callista takes his keys.
Didn't he want to get killed off in Empire anyway? So this was just sort of fulfilling his wish. he was ready to die, back in the
True.
day.
Do other projects. He wasn't necessarily, oh, I hate Star. Like there's a sort of thing like, oh, he hates Star Wars, blah blah blah. It's not that. It's that he was.
Yeah, but I didn't say that. I just said he sounded like he had said that
There's-
he was cool
well,
with that kind of death.
The other parallel there is, so this is like, okay, so this is how my whole like Hollywood gossip kind of thing kind of interjects into the whole into the Star Wars part, because I don't know that end. But I do know that for somebody like Harrison Ford and like a lot of these people who are associated with these movies, is that this was the only role that they were going to be getting because everybody now associates you with, you are Princess Leia, that's all you're going to be. Harrison Ford wanted out of contract because he didn't want to only be recognized as Han Solo, but that all changed when they ended up getting funding and everything to make the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the whole Indiana Jones series. So because then that gave him another character to go on to, so nobody was referring to him as Han Solo anymore. So that's a big reason why he was okay with not being kicked off.
And he had Blade Runner 82.
And they paid him well. They paid him really, really well for like the third and also this film. So that's something too for you to come in. So speaking of people being cast in this film, so I think it is kind of cool that we get like a Daisy Ridley and then John Boyega. They were both not allowed to tell anybody about being cast in this film until months later. It's about 3 months. So they did have a 90-day clause in this. Can you imagine being cast for Star Wars and not being allowed to tell anybody? Like at all. And so when people are like, oh, how's that acting thing going? Oh, it's going well.
I did a commercial.
Yeah. So apparently Boyega did tell a taxi driver. So that was just something that was like a kind of a cute, like little Hollywood thing. And then another thing that was in the movie. So fun fact, Finn's trooper name, FN-218, refers to Princess Leia's cell in the original Star Wars, but also to the short film 2187 from 1964, an early influence on George Lucas. So that film actually has something in it called the Force, which he lifts and takes it for his own. So it's something that's a little bit controversial from that. So it's something that I found also that was kind of like, this is very, very cool. And then lastly, another little fun fact, J.J. Abrams became the first director to direct a Star Trek and a Star Wars film. So, which I guess that's a big deal so for everybody. There was one other cool thing that I did find in this, and that is Daniel Craig is a stormtrooper in this, who Rey does the mind trick on. And fans have given him the JB007 moniker, but I'm sorry?
He's uncredited, but he was working in the sound studio next door.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want to be in Star Wars. So,
who doesn't though, yo? Like, yeah, let me on in. So
I was gonna say eventually that was, I think, my favorite part of the movie. Just once you knew it was him, and then watching it a second time, and like having seen a few recent Bond movies, you're like, you just watch his mannerisms and the timing of his delivery. You're like, oh my god, that's totally James Bond inside there. That's pretty cool.
James Bond is.
I want like more like that trend. My desire for Star Wars wanes as we go, but my if they keep making stuff, I want more secret celebrity stormtroopers.
Well, there was a bunch of them in episode 8, though. Or not secret, but they just had a lot of cameos from people that was like, oh, you're on the soundstage next over. Michaela Cole, come on over. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
I love her.
Yeah, so do I. So like, okay, so let's get into episode 8, The Last Jedi, 2017. This is when Hope was going by a thread, and they lost J.J. Abrams for this.
Yes.
Who's
Oh no.
way motherfucking down. Fuck Ryan Johnson. I hate him. With every fire
did a lot.
ever burned.
Yeah, he did a lot for this movie. So let's go around. Let's give these new names. Episode 8. My new name for this one is Star Wars. Episode 8, Jedi Island. So much happens on Jedi Island, and so that's my whole takeaway from this. I don't like this one as much as I did the 7 and the 9. This one, it was kind of like a weird one for me. I don't know.
It starts off with those really poorly engineered space bombers that apparently have to be on top of another ship in order to drop bombs on them.
Because of gravity.
Down.
That are made out of fucking paper, apparently.
Because of gravity in space, you guys. Come on.
Yeah, perfect. Seems legit.
That's
the
another
other
thing.
early gripe. The other early gripe for me is that initial scene where, I don't know, maybe it's not early on, but it's later. There's a scene when I think Poe like talks to the guy who's in charge of the spaceship and almost like prank calls him. Is that at the beginning? That prank call?
Joke, and you're like, what is happening here?
And that was the moment where I really felt like Disney had kind of Marvelized Star Wars by injecting that Thor Ragnarok style of humor into the movie, and I was like, I don't like that. Don't do that. Thor Ragnarok's amazing because it is what it is, but don't do that to my Star Wars movie. Don't inject that kind of humor. I just felt dirty.
I mean, Rian Johnson's a shit director and he doesn't have the sense of humor. Like, that's just all there is to it. He doesn't have funny bones.
Apparently this one would have really been in the tubes because they let Carrie Fisher rewrite a lot of it, like from what I understand, is that she went in to do a lot of the rewrites for this because it was so terrible from the very, very jump. So that's something. So Annie, what would you call this one? What is your title?
It was episode 8. Well, at least the cinematography is amazing.
Wow. Like this one tells me
digitally shot before Rian Johnson even got into anything. Yeah.
Laura Dern got to be a boss.
Yeah.
Laura Dern has purple hair and then she dies. So
and then she also, like, there's this weird thing where it's just like feminism. Well, we did everything poorly and we are responsible for the death of the rebellion. And also I'm a poor leader and a poor politician because nobody comes to their fucking aid. But when the next movie over, Lando's like, hey everybody. And then everybody comes, so you're like, so Leia was the problem? Is that what you're saying? That's where we're leaving? Okay.
That's a deep read.
Yeah, it is. That's a deep read. So you have to wait for
that's what happens in the movie.
You found that one after watching number 9. It was like a shower moment. Like, wait.
Not even that. I'm like sitting there watching it like, okay, so they all show up when Lando comes, but not when Leia comes? That's what everyone's okay. So
maybe they couldn't hear her because she was floating in outer space.
Yeah, she is Mary Poppins in this movie.
There.
Yeah,
like Admiral Akbar is right there, and you're just like, well, Admiral is above General, so what the fuck is even going on with these ranks? Are we just pretending like ranks don't exist and they have no meaning? Cool, Kathleen Kennedy, awesome. Okay,
Tom, what do you rename this one? What do you feel like number 8 is called? What's a better title for number 8?
I didn't come up with one for this one. Star Wars Episode 8. What happened to C-3PO's red arm? No one cares. No one cares.
That is like, okay, but here's the only thing. C-3PO is the only consistent character in all of the movies.
I actually think his red arm is almost like a metaphor for this whole trilogy. Or no, I guess for The Force Awakens at least. It's like, it's just J.J. Abrams being like, I know what'll be cool. Create some intrigue with a red arm, and that'll make fans say, ooh, where'd he get it? And then I won't have an answer. It'll be just like Lost. We'll do that for everything.
Is this worse or better than the Clone War body swap? Like,
the what?
Is this a worse body than the Clone Wars body swap with the weird that whole and then Attack of the Clones? There's like that whole scene that they try to make funny with. They put his head on another body.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so there's all these things that they do with C-3PO of like, let's just move his body. Let's make him brown. Let's make him his arm red. Okay, this time, let's give him red eyes when he talks like this. Like, there's some reach here. So it's fun enough. Lily, do you have another title for this one?
The Last Trash Can? I don't know.
The Last Trash Can. Brian, what is your retitle? Do you have anything for this?
Yeah, I wrote down, don't get attached to what we were setting up here because most of it will never be resolved.
Yeah, I think like this movie just began obviously like the dysfunctional executive and creative relationship. It was just like looking back on it, it was like as all 3 movies as a whole, it's like, were you guys not reading the scripts together, or like was there not a plan at all going into this? I mean,
it's very clear they didn't have a plan from start to finish. Where like, and this is like coming off of, you know, Avengers Endgame, not Endgame or anything, but like this is coming off phase 2 of Marvel. So right when they got Star Wars, you were fucking lit for it. You're like, oh my God, they're gonna finally do stuff. Like, we're gonna get these mind-blowing fucking films. And then they just give it to Kathleen Kennedy and she crashes and fucking burns because she tries to, you know, commodify wokeness. And I'm just like, ugh.
Well, there's some of that is like the unresolved things are like, does Finn like Rey? What the fuck? Like, okay, then he gets kissed by Rose. What is happening? Like,
with
why?
No build up whatsoever.
There's no build up and there's no resolution to that. We're never gonna like figure this out. Like, it's just there is a lot of like it is a let's grasp for everything. I really like this and this one Star Wars, so let's do it again but bigger, and then let's do this part. Like, it's just
maybe you don't have a critique on capitalism when you work for fucking Disney.
That was one of my titles here. Was Star Wars Episode 8? We got a casino.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
That was a really heavy-handed kind of one. This is the 1%, and it was kind of ham-fisted. It was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm gonna say something. It's rich bad. It's just like, you just got paid more money than me and 8 of my friends combined to write this garbage fucking movie. So I don't want to hear about the 1 fucking % from somebody who is more wealthy than me and like 8 of my friends put combined. Like, shut up.
Well, they were trying. So
I will say, Dangilo, I will say, and I'll say this about all 3 of these movies, that I enjoyed them more the second time I watched them, which is weird because you think I'd be more forgiving in the theater, but I actually found myself to be more forgiving when I watched them again. And maybe that's like the stages of grief. Like, I've just gotten all the way over to acceptance, and I'm just like, I'm entertained.
There's Leah. like it's just like, there she is. There's Leia.
Let her go.
I'm glad that you said that because I feel like you have to compartmentalize this. And that's what I do when I watch movies and try to suspend belief. And I'm like, okay, like, let's just watch it again and just take it for the entertainment value. You like, yeah, I guess like totally understand it, like bastardized everything like from canon, but it was still like fun to watch and it was beautiful to watch. And like, yeah, there's
very beautiful.
One of my alternate titles is the Land of Plot Holes, but like,
I feel like the prequels are way prettier than what we got here.
Oh,
the prequels are way more gorgeous, like aesthetically speaking, than these.
The prequels give you beautiful like scapes and like there's something elegant about the prequels. These are more sleek and dark and like, you know what I mean?
And it's just like the action is so beautiful. I mean, like, I could go back. I can't watch The Force Awakens again, but I can watch like that scene where they get in the Millennium Falcon and they're flying and they're going through the old Star Destroyer. I mean, it just looks beautiful. It's just like the way the action. You wish the action could have been all the time. And
this is Annie cinematography. Annie cinematography.
I will take what I can get.
The fight scenes in these new ones are so fucking garbage. Just absolute frame by frame a mess. They're an absolute, like, I'm just like, Bob Anderson is rolling in his motherfucking grave watching these things. Like, why can't they parry? Why can't they block? Why is this person aiming all the way above over their fucking heads? Like, when you make clunky Darth Vader look, you know, like suave and shit, like, that's a fucking problem. People,
I don't know. I think honestly, I never saw it. I kind of loved what I saw. I saw like cinematography fight scenes. I was down with that. I mean, I saw the second one in a packed house at like, I don't know, 1 a.m. at the ArcLight in Los Angeles. And that moment where she shot the ship through the Star Destroyer, there was like an audible gasp across the audience, and then just complete like mouth gaping silence. And it was one of those moments where you're like, that was fucking rad.
Well, that was really cool. That was really
silent. Everything goes silent for a moment, and they make you really watch. They make you like, okay, watch this part, watch this, watch this, watch this. Now we'll give you some noise. Like
that was almost worth the slowest car chase ever. That was really cool.
It was really cool. I thought the thing happened in the movie.
It's like a 20 mile an hour car chase.
The which?
But yeah, these movies had like a had a stiff divide between fans and critics. Critics liked this one, and fans didn't. And I think it was more of a flipped on the other two movies. I think
Like-
critics kind of panned the other two.
They had the whole like toxic fan situation with the one woman who played that character, and everybody
Rose
just turned
Tico.
against her. It was
No.
that was rough.
She
Yeah.
quit the internet.
She left the internet just like
5 people online just making fucking stupid accounts, but I didn't really see any like death threats thrown her way. Who I did see death threats thrown the way of was J.J. Abrams after Rise of Palpatine.
oh well that'll be the
Really?
next one.
Yeah.
No, because I know I've heard the whole thing with I've heard the whole part with Rose Tico with the whole fact that people just hated her as a character. There was really, really like bad backlash on her for like no reason. I mean, like this girl gets the role of a lifetime that like it just that sucks. And the same thing happened to the little boy who
But don't blame that on the fucking actress. Take that to Ryan Johnson's fucking doorstep.
well the same
Yeah, you
thing
mean-
happened.
Are you talking about Jake Lloyd?
Yeah, the same thing happened to the little boy Jake Lloyd from the
yeah.
original movies. That's why he left acting and now like he's in the background.
Jar
with
Jar
things,
Binks, Ahmed Best wasn't treated
Yeah.
well after that. Yeah.
So it's pretty terrible that the fans can be like so toxic. So going into, I'm going to just throw a few of these little fun facts that we have. We have, this is the first film since the original release of Star Wars, Episode 1, to feature a Yoda realized with a puppet rather than computer animation. So with that whole scene where they bring him back with Luke on it's actually a puppet. And they brought Frank Oz out of retirement for puppetry. So for this.
Feels like a lot of the divide in this movie was kind of about Luke, right? Like what fans wanted him to become versus what a filmmaker wanted to do with him. And
Even Mark Hamill was in open fucking rebellion against this, and Carrie Fisher was the one to rewrite their dialogue together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're singing together, yeah.
Yeah, they're singing together. That's what she was rewriting predominantly.
I see it both ways. Like I don't think any of us expected Luke, after what we saw him go through in the original trilogy, to go where he went.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the same time, like I hear where critics are coming from. Like I do think filmmakers should make films, and if the comment section on YouTube is if they're the ones making the films, then I don't want to see it. If a director is not giving you what everybody on a chat board has already predicted is going to happen, then I don't really think it's a movie that we need to see. If a filmmaker's
scripts, though.
Okay, we hear you. If a filmmaker's in charge and they're making unique choices and like doing things that we didn't expect, then it feels like a film, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
I think
I agree.
there's something there that there's a point where it's like let them do their job and let's like figure this out. It just there's a wish there that the person writing the film would be as big of a fan as everybody else.
Or
is.
at least have a game plan. You're
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that was the whole trilogy, not just the second guy.
Yeah, and you can't accuse Abrams of not being a fan. I mean, he's like,
Yeah.
you know,
He's a fan of
he's got a tattoo
Right.
of Spielberg on the small of his back. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, JJ was like, let's put the magic wizard
He
like
wasn't-
disappeared on another planet, and you need a map to find him. And it's like, oh,
Well,
why?
we didn't really touch on this, but the Snoke of it all, like what is like was
who
this?
cares?
Yeah, it's like a
Don't get invested.
no, and it just
the reason why like people really did hate The Last Jedi is because there's so much malice in the movie, in the film itself. There's so much malice coming from the filmmakers to the actual characters and the story, and it's just like, this isn't going to be your grandma's Star Wars, and they end up kind of breaking the fucking lore just for the sake of a few good moments, and that it overall hurts. You can't say that it didn't hurt the product of Star Wars in and of itself. Not having enough toys, like what would you have? You had porgs. That's it. You didn't have 50 other fucking lightsabers to sell to kids, and you have this weird like capitalist bad undertone, and just not really saying really a whole heap in a non-hypocritical way.
I just don't think it was his vision to sell toys. He was like, I want to tell a different story.
Get off the Star Wars property, because Star Wars and toys, that's why they bought the fucking thing.
But that just goes back to the whole team as a whole. It's like why is JJ Abrams setting up all these lost mysteries he's not going to pay off, and then handing the reins to somebody who's going to take it in the
garbage. And
okay, you talk.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I just get really.
We have to just let
Dangilo,
him finish.
take us somewhere else, Dangilo.
So it's just finishing those thoughts. One of the other titles I did have for this was episode 8. You trying to fuck? Like, what is going on between Kylo Ren and Rey? Like there's like this weird sexual undertone. It's not like brother sister. It's a weird moment, and it's very much like he's not Hannah from Girls. You know what I mean? Like she's not Hannah from Girls anymore. You can't be abusive towards every woman. Like there is like this weird thing with that actor that I feel. So one other thing here that I just thought that was kind of fun in these episode 8 parts here is that the blaster thing. Rose fires her blaster at Captain Phasma, which is another whole situation that ran of Tarth, aka. But the shot harmlessly glares off her armor, marking the first time a stormtrooper armor has successfully kept someone safe. So that was just something that was just kind of like fun because we've only seen one person be stunned, and now this is the first person who is okay after being shot by a blaster. So
her armor was built out of one of those silver ships, you know, those super like Carillion silver ships.
I read that
apparently,
too. Yeah,
that's why she was able to do that. I don't know why I know that, but I do.
She's extra special, and that's another thing though. Is this is like they do give us a few. Okay, we get really great female actresses in this. We get what's her name? From Us. I'm sorry. Yeah, from Us. And now I can't remember. Yeah. She plays a character, and then we also have Kerry Russell, who's in like the next one, who we get to see her eyes, and that's pretty
She's
much
a Power
it.
Ranger.
Yeah, she's a Power Ranger. And then we also have Brianna Tarth, who we never see anything because she's inside of her big costume. That's the whole thing. Is like you could have had anybody to play that and just have them come in for the vocals of it all. So, anyways, running on over. Let's get over to the number 9. So, episode 9, The Rise of the Skywalker. This is one came out in 2019. This is so fresh on everybody's thoughts right now because it is being pushed very, very heavily by Disney Plus because it came out on, the May the 4th be with you. So, this one is a mess. So I just called this one episode 9. My name ain't Palpatine. So that was like one of my takeaways is that, and so it's a very deep spoiler for the very end of the movie, everybody. So like number 9, do we have a title for this, Annie? What would you call this one?
Mine was like, I guess this is what we're doing now. I was like, all right, here we are.
We didn't have a game plan.
We're fine.
There's the whole mystery dagger key thing from the Goonies that he used to find the.
Yeah.
And you get a MacGuffin. And you get a MacGuffin.
It's something.
MacGuffin Quest.
Yeah.
It is MacGuffin Quest. Like, what video game was it supposed to be set up for?
Well, that's what every single one of these is, though, is a video game. Okay, first we're going to get into this place. We're going to get into this bay. You're going to turn off this part. Then we're going to all run back out. Everything's a video game. It's all GoldenEye.
Video games have plot. Right.
So it's just fun. Leo, Lily, what do you give this one? And number 9, what do you give this? What's your title for this?
Oh, my title? I give it Rise of Palpatine.
The Rise of Palpatine.
Bad guys win.
So we get a return of Palpatine. There's 1,000,001 Siths that are down inside of some basement somewhere making clones. Is that what I'm supposed to believe?
Yeah.
Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it right. Clones apparently do nothing.
Well, clones of Snoke were inside of a big thing.
Clones
is that saying that Palpatine is a clone, or is he returned?
His soul is there, supposedly.
He returned.
It's something.
It was the actor, so
we won't take it too deep. So, Brian, what do you call this one? What is number 9 to you?
I call it episode 9. It's okay to be a space lesbian.
Not China.
But only for a second.
Not China.
But only for a second.
Not China.
Give it out for China distributing.
Well, China just they take out a lot of things. So like,
They sure
yeah. Some movies are 5 minutes long there, but that's another situation. So,
Yay, communism.
yes, yeah, but we have our own problems. So, being said, this is a very lighthearted little podcast. But yeah, so number 9, this is Rise of Skywalker. There's a lot of random things. Any takeaways from this? I did not mind this one as much as I didn't like the one right before it, and so. I do like some of like the little battle scenes. The whole running on the Death Star in the rain or in the water is random, and I'm so over Finn trying to stop Rey from doing what she needs to do. So that was my takeaway from this. It's like, Finn, stand down, like let her go. So
it just reeked of like, I don't know. Yeah. Go ahead.
I would be curious to hear from each person what you thought of the kiss at the end between the two of them, because that to me was, I was kind of like, okay, because up until then I was kind of down with what was going on in terms of being entertained and visually, stunning and grand, and other than kind of trying to wrap my head around the numbers of all the deaths of all the Star Destroyers and the people that must be on them and where they got those people from. Like, I tried not to think about
where
that.
did the rebellion respawn from?
Yeah, big suspension of disbelief there. But then I even was cool with the whole, bring you back and I'll bring you back, and it's all kind of okay. And Palpatine, okay, that's cool. But then the kiss, I was just like, but why? Why did we do that?
Why?
He's a space Nazi who genocided 5 planets. But that got your pussy wet, girl.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's just constant. Like, yeah, this is the first one where like we have a gratuitous no shirt with his very long boxy body. Like,
we couldn't get that with Harrison Ford. We had to get that with like that gangly motherfucker. He looks like Benedict Cumberbatch was ran over.
Right.
Him.
I like Adam Driver. He sounds awesome. When he wears that mask, he sounds badass.
I do like the voice in the mask. But then the whole like, does my mask make you uncomfortable? Because it has the red like things there.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a mask, bro. Like yeah, it's like, does it make me uncomfortable? No, I'm uncomfortable because you might kill me. Like, so I mean, it's funny.
What about the moment? I actually like this moment a lot on the ship in the water when he dies and she brings him back, and then he has his moment with his father, and when he says, his father says, "I love you," and then he says, I know, so they're totally going back to the Empire thing.
Yeah,
I actually got a big nostalgia boner, and I was all about that. Like, that was awesome.
I love it too.
I did like that. I did like that there was a little bit of closure with like, you are the worst person in the world, but you're not that bad. Like, like there was a little bit of that. And then there's the whole, like, that's Leia's death. I mean, like, which is tragic because that's her, like, isn't that her last bit of energy to push that out there? Or does she really see the ghost? That's the one thing I want to know. Is it a ghost or is it her pushing the force there? Like, what is that? Or do we not supposed to ask those questions? Am I asking stupid questions?
Very specific detail questions.
Force ghosts are their actual like soul. Like, they're like ghosts. They're literally like sentient things.
So, but is he Force? He's not a Jedi. So is it still a thing? I don't understand. I'm not supposed to understand this. So I'm just gonna like. So they had shiny lightsabers. Just like, don't think about that part. Just look at the other parts here. Oh, so yeah, and then we do have Chewbacca crying, which is tragic, which did make me a little emotional. I was like, oh, this is bad. His friend. Like,
well, they didn't really let him mourn Han so much in the first one, so at least they let him mourn Leia.
Yeah.
True.
There's your medal that nobody really gave a fuck about except for some fanboy on a thing when in actuality you got a medal.
But he took that out. What was that medal from?
It was from the first one where she puts a thing around. She puts a medal on the very first movie.
Uh-huh.
She puts a medal around Han and Luke, and then she like She gives Chewie a different type of medal because he's a Wookiee. Can't really.
So then she holds on to that forever, and then they give that back to him.
You know, 40 years. It's whatever. Just handed to him.
It's her fidget spinner, you guys. That's how we have to think about it. Like, that's what she does. She uses that whenever she's nervous, and she just fiddles that in her hand. So that's how I'm going to believe. So this was just kind of interesting, too, is just looking, because I was like, wait a second. This was recorded. Like, they were going to write her out of the movie completely. They were going to write Leia out, and then they decided, well, we can't do that. But then they didn't want to do anything where they were CGIing her in. So they used old cutscenes. And then they also let her daughter stand in for her. So in a lot of scenes, it's actually her daughter in a wig and the cloaks, and you don't actually see everything. And they push it back. And they put her in old age, which is kind of something. So that had to be surreal for like Miss Billy Lord, who I actually really enjoy, and they give her nothing else to do. They give her nothing else to do in the movies. So another really, really great actor who's in there. Okay, so let's go over some like fun facts for this one. I found some little things here. So there's an Easter egg here. So there's a Firefly Easter egg. Have you guys heard about this? So from the Firefly series, when the scene where the ships come from across the galaxy to the rebellion, Serenity is visible center of the screen. So look for that next time you watch, if you ever watch it again. So
Awesome.
yeah, so that's something that's a little bit different. And then we also,
what is you doing?
He left.
Man down.
And then we have also this extra part. John Williams is the bartender in the cantina on Kamenji. His character's name is Oma Tress, which is an anagram for maestro.
Oh, I love that.
So that's something. So these are like reasons that you can go back. So I try to find things like that were fun that you can kind of like pinpoint in here, like little Easter eggs. Another one here is that Rey becomes the first movie Jedi to have a yellow lightsaber. Once she returns to Tatooine to bury Luke and Leia's lightsaber, she activates her own, which seems to be made from her staff. So it's the first.
There's Jedi in the prequels that have yellow lightsabers.
They say that they don't. That she's the first yellow. So I want to go back and see. This is like something. This was like off an IMDb thing, so I needed to go back and check a little bit more.
You know what lightsaber I'm really excited about, and this is completely off topic, but was the lightsaber that was at the end of The Mandalorian. I don't know if we'll talk about that, but that got me really excited.
I'll bring Tom back in when he sits. So another thing, Kylo Ren, his last word is "ow." the whole entire movie.
Perfect.
Like, it's something that I guess a lot of fans are like, that's what they gave him as his last thing to say. It wasn't anything like loving. It wasn't anything harsh. It was just "ow." So that's his final word.
Fitting with the series and the writing.
No. So it was "ow" from everything. Except for, I mean, he got handed. I mean, like, when you get a Star Wars role, this is like security for life if the fans like you. But like, because you're going to be able to go and sign at every single, fan convention and whatnot for the rest of your life. And so
those Reylo girls who are absolutely down to get choked by Nazi space daddy are actually going to follow his entire career. So you're right.
Well, he had an abusive thing before too. So like,
and then after.
Yeah, so his character is a little bit crazy. Okay, so now going into fun fact, another one is C-3PO's last line of dialogue, "Did you hear that?" was also his very first from a Star Wars film. So making it the perfect bookend to one character. So like, again, I said he's like the only person who feels like he's like really like consistent throughout all the movies. He's so consistent, he just gets reset and says the same exact word of dialogue. So it's one of those things that the fans have like pointed out and that they found. So looking through. Those are some of my little fun facts. I found some other things here, just basically, that I already mentioned the whole thing about Carrie Fisher and that they were just able to cut and paste everything together from like the 7 and 8 to make this like last movie.
Fortunate.
Overall, I think they could have done a better job? Yes, we all think they could have done a better job. But I didn't mind this so much. I don't think it didn't really kill my childhood, so I'm not in that place of it. Will you guys rewatch this ever? Is this something that will be back on your rewatch schedule? Or, like,
sure.
Will you intentionally put it on Disney Plus?
Yep.
Intentionally?
Yes. So
I do.
Like, on purpose?
Yeah, I see. That's the thing is I think I like I like them for their background fodder and that sort of a thing,
Yeah.
you know. And
That's
so, yeah, it's
I think
go for it.
I think I'm more likely to go back and watch Han Solo or Rogue One, just because for whatever reason, especially Han Solo, like upon the second time I saw it, I really dug it, and I like I said, I think I'm getting more forgiving as I get older or something, but I would totally watch that, and I'm really in the mood to watch Rogue One because I haven't seen that in a couple of years, I think, and I like that movie a lot.
Rogue One was all right, especially the cast is so good in that movie. Again, it's just one of those things like it's a shame about the director just handing in this half of a product, like because it could have been amazing. You know what I mean? I want to learn more about these people that believe in the Force but aren't necessarily Jedis. Like what is his name? He was in One. No, nobody.
He was in Rogue One.
He was in Rogue One, and he was in a Chinese movie called One. Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen's character in Rogue One. I wanted to learn more about their characters. And they do a like not so great job about like kind of undercutting the lore in that film. That you're just kind of like.
I think the Rogue, but yeah, because we'll talk about Rogue One. I think Rogue One really was it's a taste of Star Wars universe, and the thing is, and it was just kind of, let's give a reason finally for the kill switch on the Death Star. Like, I mean, they implemented a kill switch, and let's figure it out now. Like, how did this all happen?
I mean,
but I think it's more about the sacrifices that were made to get those plans that are touched upon in Star Wars. But here's an entire movie that really puts that out in detail and has engaging characters and I thought it was pretty freaking cool. Those AT-ATs on that like tropical island, that was
really cool.
I think the characters would have been more consistent throughout the whole thing. But go ahead. You were sorry.
I was gonna say, I think that this was the first land, this particular area. Like when you go into Galaxy's Edge, Galaxy's Edge looks a lot like Rogue One, especially at the beginning of the movie, and especially with the Jakku, that whole area. And I think that Disney wanted to create their own lands that they created themselves. So that's when you walk into Galaxy's Edge, they specifically look like this area. So I think there is a very clear marketing piece. Whenever you watch Rogue One, whenever you watch even Solo too, any of the marketplaces, very clear.
Disney said, "This is ours. This is no longer a Lucas piece. This is purely for us, and we now own this. We now own this." I mean, that's the thing is yeah. I mean, they've poured. I mean, Disney's poured so much money into this because they've gotten such a big, huge return, and so it's kind of amazing to see, like, that Disney they put these 3 movies out, like this sequel trilogy, and the thing is, and they found there was success, and that this became like a holiday thing because every 2 years you were getting to see a Christmas movie. I think Brian brought that up before but then something like Solo, which I did like that movie, and I wish we would get a couple more of those. I wish they would have finished the trilogy, just because it's fun. It's fodder. It's you're not going to get Harrison Ford again, but this kid did a good enough job, and
when you find out Chewbacca has tasted man flesh.
Yeah. But I think that's always been kind of like, wasn't it implied that he'll rip your arms off, he'll eat your kid, that kind of a thing? Like, it's always been like, that's why people are afraid of him.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a fucking toss away joke, not he will actually eat man flesh. That's a little bit.
Well, that's the joy of having movies made, is that they're open to interpretation by the person who's making them. They can add to the lore or take away from it.
Yeah.
And I mean, Donald Glover, as Lando, that was badass. He got it. And by the end, they had set up all these really interesting pieces on the chessboard where I was like, okay, well, let's play this game now. And who knows, if we'll ever get to.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, it was just kind of like we were right there. Where does her character go? What does she become? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, what happens from there? And so...
Why does Darth Maul become a crime boss who speaks? No, I'm asking these questions. I feel like a crazy person.
But he's in there for like a moment. Maybe he does. Maybe he used to speak and now he doesn't when they actually get rid of him. Like, so there's that.
Yeah.
So,
are we gonna talk about the Mandalorian at all, or is that?
I would like to. So do we maybe want to do that one next? Would that be like a cool thing for next week? Has everybody watched it? You haven't watched it?
We could do Rogue One and Solo first, because that's part of the whole sort of Skywalker saga. And then
let's go in there. Yeah. So let's next week. Let's get really into Rogue One and Solo, because I'll be able to pull up some more facts. I want to rewatch Rogue One. I've only seen that one time, and so I think I need a little bit more of a refresher for that one, just because I just remember just kind of the feeling. It's heavy. It's heavy. There's so many people that they're like, I want you to like this person. Bye. Like, and you're just like, wait a second, did they just kill her mom? Like, it's just like, it's that like over and over and over again. So it's one of those things that they do dangle these characters in front of you, which is something that's always been like a Star Wars thing, is that, you know, fall in love with this. Yeah, fall in love. We're taking them away from you. Like, do you like this toy? You can play with it today, but it's not going to be here tomorrow.
You have sacrifice and you have redemption. There is lots of both.
Yeah, very much so. So it's just it's one of those so let's go into that one for next week. And then this way you can catch up on Mandalorian, which I really liked Mandalorian. It's feel good.
So good.
It kind of is like Xena Warrior Princess in Star Wars. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like it's those kind of missions, and like each episode has like its own like little thing. It's easily digestible. It's family fun. You know, it's
Gina Carano's in it, and she's definitely fucking girl crush material. And I just found out
that she's beautiful.
And Gina Carano used to date, and I'm like, just toss me back and forth like a football, guys.
I'll say, if you've watched The Mandalorian already, Disney Plus added a show where they go in, each episode is like deals with a different thing. I watched the first episode and it was about all the different directors, and that was awesome. It is so good.
I've seen the commercials for that. Like where it's Taika Waititi. And honestly, he's one of my favorite directors. Like,
me too.
Cool. So this will give us like a couple weeks then to digest those, because I've seen those. They keep popping up on the whole, like, you've been watching this, so you should watch this. Like, Disney right now is all about Star Wars for me, you guys. I'm getting ads for thermoses in my IG. Like, they know where I've been lately.
They're all
they're like,
buy our shit.
Their park is going to open up, and I'm just going to start getting all these things about, like, come to Disneyland right now. And I kind of would love to go. I miss it. So I miss those kind of like little fun activities. But okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let's take this out for today. I think we lost Tom completely, so I don't see his thing popped up. So I don't know what happened over there, but I think he is okay. Anyways,
come back to us, Tom.
Absolutely. So listen, my our co-host here today on our panel, Brian, belongs to 619 Bearcast, and Miss Annie belongs to Never Growing Up. They're both available on iTunes. You can also find them for most places that you can find your podcast. And then you can also find Brian's on YouTube, where you can find them in this kind of a format, doing a live visual. So if you like bears with beards, go and watch that. It's a fun little romp. And then
it's mom approved.
Absolutely. And I do want to push this one more time. I know that Ahmed Best was very happy that we pushed this out there last week. But if you guys look on the Etsy shop for Nerd Matters, you guys will find the Jar Jar Signature Edition pin. There's 4 different varieties of it. It's about $12 each. 100% of those profits go to Feeding America Food Bank. And so, which is really important right now that we are quarantining and during the pandemic. Those people are actively pushing a lot of food there. And so this can be your way of making a difference and also enjoying a little bit of Star Wars merch. So other than that, thank everybody so much. I thank you guys all today for joining us. We have been Binge Bitches for Star Wars Sequel Trilogy. Next week, you'll find us same time, same place. We'll be discussing some Rogue One, Solo, and maybe just some other like stupid canon. Maybe I will watch. Okay, look, you know what? Let's throw the Christmas special in this little guy. And so find the Christmas special on YouTube, watch it. We'll talk about that. What's up?
Wait. You're forgetting the Ewok films.
If we can find those on YouTube, I was looking around and they're very cut up. So if we can, I'll try to see if I can find the Ewoks because they're very cute. There's only 2 of those films.
Yes,
so
it's not a trilogy. It's
Yeah,
just too short.
they've
No,
been cut, and I want to say they're only like 90 minutes each. So, but
about that, yeah.
I can't find a fully cut
They
one.
have
So
like
if you
the super
find one,
history in 'em.
let's throw a link up. So
D'Angelo, don't watch the Christmas special by yourself. You don't be alone for that.
maybe I'll
It
do
is
like
a little high.
I'll do a watch party. Just get a little bit stoned, watch the trilogy, or watch the Christmas special. Maybe I'll
You
do
need
it.
someone else there so you can go like, is this really happening?
Maybe I'll Instagram live my watch of that.
That would be
Maybe
great.
that'll happen. So, and then I'll just pull people into that. That'll be a little
I
crazy.
love that Christmas special so much because it's such a it's like a joyful mess.
Well, they're all on cocaine the whole entire time.
Yeah, all of them.
So, like that's
Coked out of her gourd.
That's what they all say. So let's put those ones. So next week we'll do Solo. We will do Rogue One. We will do the Christmas special. And if we can, we'll throw a little bit of Ewoks in there, but that's not a big deal. Other than that, we will catch you guys next week here with Binge Bitches. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for Brian for joining us. You can find him on Instagram at Hasbro Physicist. We can find Annie at WDW Collective on Instagram. You can find Lily at Lily Holiday on Instagram, and you can find Tom when we can find him. So everybody have a great night, and thank you guys so much for joining today. This is always so much fun. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Cheers.